With more than 30 seasons of The Simpsons, the show has introduced viewers to numerous secondary characters. Some only make a few appearances before disappearing without a trace, while others become immediate fan favorites. Two iconic secondary characters who became series regulars in the early seasons of The Simpsons first appeared in the 13th episode of the second season, Homer vs. Lisa and the Eighth Commandment, which first aired in February 1991. In the episode, Homer gets illegal cable. However, Lisa feels guilty over the crime and soon starts urging her family to disconnect the feed.
Come on, Lisa. Watch a little cable with us.
The episode was well received by both fans and critics, and it's noteworthy for a number of reasons, such as its unusually stern morality, and its opening scene, which parodies the classic 1956 film, The Ten Commandments. There's also the fact that the story introduced the character boxer Drederick Tatum, who had become a recurring character in the early years of The Simpsons as a parody of Mike Tyson.
Drederick Tatum, who reminisces about growing up in Springfield.
That town is a dump. If you ever see me back there, you know I really up bad.
However, arguably, the most notable thing about the episode is that it saw the introduction of the iconic Simpsons secondary character Troy McClure, a stereotypical Hollywood has-been who is now famous for doing low-level work, such as hosting infomercials and education films. The episode was written by Steve Papoon, who served as a freelance writer who was also credited with creating the iconic character of McClure. At the time, Papoon had been working in the television industry since 1986 and had previously worked on the hit series Elf about an alien who crash lands on Earth. Later, Papoon would co-create the TV series The Wild Thornberrys, which follows a family of wildlife documentary filmmakers. Strangely, despite his credentials and the success of Homer vs. Lisa and the Eighth Commandment, it is, as of November 2022, Papoon's only contribution to the universe of The Simpsons. Still, the reality is that the biggest and best part of Papoon's contribution to The Simpsons universe is the character that he created simply for a throwaway joke.
You may remember me from such movies as Cry Yuma and Here Comes the Coast Guard.
McClure was partially based on actors Troy Donahue, a one-time sex symbol throughout the 50s and 60s, and Doug McClure, in regards to the character's name, appearance, and characteristics.
You can say that again.
McClure was typically voiced by Phil Hartman, though the actor behind Homer, Dan Castellaneta, voiced McClure in the episode Bart's Dog Gets an F, in which the Simpsons' dog, Santa's little helper, is enrolled in obedience school.
As an actor, my eyeballs need to look their whitest.
Ultimately, despite the character McClure being based on two real-life people, Hartman well and truly brought the character to life and made him one of the most beloved secondary characters in the history of The Simpsons. And with his distinct personality, the iconic catchphrases, and McClure's general lovability, it's understandable that many directly involved with the character saw him as having a much bigger life outside of being just a two-dimensional secondary character on a TV series.
Ruff, Ruff! I'm Poochie the Rockin' Dog!
Tragically, Hartman's life was cut short when he died at the age of 46 in May 1998.
The actor and comedian Phil Hartman was shot to death in his own home, apparently by his wife, who then killed herself. They had 2 children.
Following Hartman's death, McClure, along with Hartman's other iconic Simpsons character, the deeply flawed but lovable attorney Lionel Hutz, were retired in season 10 of The Simpsons. Even years later, after numerous other iconic secondary characters have come and gone within the Simpsons universe, McClure is still often cited as one of the series' most popular side characters. When Hartman passed, a number of projects he was involved in were left up in the air. Most notably, he'd been due to join the cast of Futurama, voicing Zap Brannigan. Hartman had also been in talks of making a live-action Troy McClure movie, with Hartman in the lead role. The idea certainly sounds weird, and, given the history of live-action adaptations of two-dimensional characters, it's maybe a good thing that the project never came to fruition. However, when you consider Hartman's talents, the uniqueness of the character McClure, and how ripe the idea was for parody and satire of the film and television industry, the proposed adaptation just might have worked. All up, McClure appeared in dozens of episodes of The Simpsons. Typically, his appearances were only brief, as he usually only hosted short segments for educational videos or infomercial spots, for which he was notorious for introducing himself by listing his past accomplishments.
You may remember me from such nature films as Earwigs, Ooh!
With this in mind, it's understandable that many would have found it difficult to conceive just how they could have made an entire movie around what was, essentially, a one-note character. However, there's at least one episode that gave the world a glimpse into McClure's true personality, his private life, and, more importantly, just how much potential there really was for a feature-length movie that revolved around McClure. A Fish Called Selma is the 19th episode of the 7th season, which first aired in March 1996. In the episode, McClure begins a relationship with Marge's sister, Selma, after the two meet at the DMV. Soon, media coverage of the relationship helps resurrect McClure's failing career in addition to quashing rumors about his personal life, specifically his sexuality. The pair marry, though only Selma is actually emotionally invested in the relationship, as McClure is just using her. After Selma discovers that she's in a loveless marriage, she resigns to stay with McClure. That is, until he suggests that they have a child, to further boost his public image as a family man, at which point Selma leaves. Even after Selma walks away from the relationship, McClure still gets offered a big role that's all but certain to return him to A-list celebrity status. However, he ends up turning down the opportunity to direct and star in his own pet project. Ultimately, the episode provides the most in-depth look into McClure's private life and backstory, establishing that he was a star in the early 70s, but his career went downhill due to rumors of him having a paraphilia involving fish.
I thought you said Troy McClure was dead.
No, what I said was he sleeps with the fishes.
The episode came about because showrunners at the time, Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein, were fans of Hartman and wished to produce an entire episode that focused on McClure in order to give Hartman as much to do as possible. Freelance writer Jack Barth wrote the first draft of the episode. However, his original script was heavily rewritten for subsequent versions by the writing room. As of November 2022, A Fish Called Selma is the only episode that Barth ever wrote for The Simpsons. The episode is a personal favorite of a number of the staff members of the show and has been cited as one of the series' best by fans and critics alike. It also gives us arguably the best glimpse as to just what a Troy McClure movie might have looked like. Throughout the episode, it's hinted that McClure's engagement in strange sexual behavior is what ended his once highly successful career. The writers decided to make his preference fish-related, to make it so strange that it was over the top, which resulted in it being so perverse that it was actually funny rather than disgusting. This gives us a hint as to what kind of comedy a movie would have went with, particularly in regards to the absurdity of Hollywood and how extremely fake and abnormal industry people can be. Typical of a Golden Era Simpsons episode, the writing for the installment was clever, with the vast majority of the jokes landing. Furthermore, Hartman took what was always going to be a good episode and made it great, so much so that his performance is widely considered to be one of the best guest appearances in the history of the series, as it's the only episode where we see true emotion from McClure, in addition to the solid character development. Of course, as intricate and pitch-perfect as the writing, directing, and performances are throughout A Fish Called Selma, the episode is perhaps best remembered for one elaborate scene that perfectly embodies the shameless absurdity of Hollywood, much like a Troy McClure film probably also would have.
Talk, he can talk, he can talk! I can sing!
There are a number of cultural references throughout A Fish Called Selma. There's the title of the episode itself, which is a play on the name of the hit 1988 movie A Fish Called Wanda. There's also the reference to McClure starring in a Muppets movie, like many A-list celebrities did throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s. However, the most celebrated cultural reference in the episode is the musical sequence for the stage adaptation of the classic 1968 film Planet of the Apes. In addition to ridiculing the fact that seemingly anything and everything will eventually get a musical adaptation for the stage, the sequence also, and most notably, parodies the musician Falco in their 1985 song Rock Me Amadeus with a Simpsons rendition titled Dr. Zaius.
I think you're crazy.
Want a second opinion?
You're also lazy. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
The sequence is widely considered by fans, critics, and even many of The Simpsons writing staff to be one of the best, if not the best, musical numbers of the entire series. With this in mind, although very little is known about the potential McClure movie, one thing is for sure, there absolutely would have been a musical sequence at some point in the film, and it would have been epic.
This play has everything.
This is because everyone involved in the Planet of the Apes musical sequence had a great time producing the scene. Oftentimes, many of the greatest jokes in The Simpsons were written at the last minute, after extensive and exhausting brainstorming sessions, which left the writing staff so burnt out from the experience that they can't actually go back and rewatch their work and enjoy it, because it brings back bad memories.
How often do you watch the old episodes?
Never.
Never?
No. I mean, it's all painful for me. All I see is, oh, this was 2 in the morning. Oh, I love it.
However, according to a number of Simpsons staff members at the time, because the idea of a musical for Planet of the Apes was so absurd, the process of putting it all together excited and inspired everyone involved. As for the subject matter of a song that would likely have appeared in a McClure movie, one of the few pieces of information about the project that was revealed was the fact that at least a portion of the film would focus on the actor in his various stays at the infamous Betty Ford Center for substance abuse, something which was very common for celebrities to do throughout the 80s and 90s. The Simpsons had already addressed this subject matter in the form of a song in the episode The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, the first episode of the 9th season, when the Simpsons family have to travel to the city to retrieve their car. At one point in the episode, Marge, Lisa, and Bart go to Broadway to see the musical Kicking It, a musical journey through the Betty Ford Center, during which there's another elaborate musical sequence.
I'm checking in. He's checking in. I'm checking in. Checking in.
It's unlikely that, for the McClure movie, they would have revisited the song, but it is possible that they may have referenced the musical and its other songs that didn't feature in the episode. Still, checking in at least gives us a glimpse into just what they may have done in regards to another Hollywood-themed musical sequence that focuses on the nature of celebrity. Even though the song Checking In isn't as elaborate or memorable as Dr. Zayas, we can trust that the Simpsons writing staff involved would have been able to find a fresh way of satirizing Hollywood's romanticization of substance abuse and rehab by a song, given that the show had at least 2 writers who'd already proven that they were more than willing and capable of savaging the film and television industry and the individuals within the inherently ridiculous culture of stardom.
Find my book! Find my book!
Not much has been said about the potential McClure movie, because the project never really got beyond the unofficial brainstorming phase amongst Hartman and the Simpsons staff. Basically, as Simpsons creator Matt Groening put it, the project never got further than enthusiasm. However, given the potential that the project had and the people who would have been involved, there's little doubt that every aspect of the film would have been of high quality, particularly in regards to the writing. The script would have been written just outside the window of The Simpsons' golden era, between 1991 and 1997. Still, had the proposed project come to fruition, it would have been penned by some of the show's writers responsible for the show's golden era, who were still coming up with and perfectly executing solid, and in some cases classic Simpsons episodes.
What
is it?
Nothing.
Though no one had been mentioned as a potential writer or contributor, there are 2 obvious choices for the task: Al Jean and Mike Reiss. During The Simpsons' golden era, the pair were responsible for a number of classic episodes of the show, including the first episode of the 3rd season, Stark Raving Dad, when Homer is locked up in a mental hospital, which first aired in September 1991, and Lisa's Pony, the 8th episode of the 3rd season, when Homer tries to buy his daughter's love with an elaborate gift. Gene and Reiss were also the showrunners for The Simpsons for the 3rd and 4th season, between September 1991 and May 1993. However, the most significant thing that would have qualified them to write the script for the McClure movie is the fact that they had already proven that they could helm a project that perfectly parodied and satirized the romanticization of Hollywood, and the vacuousness of the people working in the film and television industry. Because, in addition to writing for and showrunning The Simpsons, Gene and Reiss had also produced one of the best satires of show business, when they created the TV series The Critic, about the misadventures of the cynical film reviewer Jay Sherman. Ultimately, the series only aired from January 1994 to May 1995, consisting of 23 episodes over 2 seasons, followed by an additional 10 webisodes between 2000 and 2001. Still, despite the show's struggles in regards to viewership, it was critically acclaimed, specifically for its often brutal takedowns of Hollywood and the very nature of celebrity.
Your job is to rate movies on a scale from good to excellent.
What if I don't like them?
That's what good's for.
Presumably, much like with the 2007 Simpsons movie, the McClure film would have sourced much of the Simpsons writing staff to contribute to the script. Although it's usually a bad thing when too many people contribute to a screenplay, the unusual move paid off when the Simpsons jumped to the big screen, and it's reasonable to expect that this would have also happened with the McClure movie, especially with Gene and Reiss contributing to, if not overseeing, the entire writing process. It's an objective and easily demonstrable fact that transitioning a 2-dimensional character to live action is an inherently terrible idea. Yet, throughout the 90s, Hollywood insisted on making one cinematic adaptation of an animated character after another, whether the character in question was from a video game, a comic book, or an animated television series. So, there's a strong chance that had the McClure movie been made, producers behind the project would have insisted that it be live action, despite Hollywood's results with such adaptations, as previous attempts had been very hit and miss. Some were just terrible, such as the 1999 film adaptation of Inspector Gadget based on the cartoon series of the same name. Other adaptations were okay. Bob Hoskins did his best to bring to life the titular character from Nintendo's Mario franchise in the 1993 film Super Mario Bros.
Name? Mario. Last name? Mario.
As did John Goodman in the 1994 cinematic adaptation of the animated TV series The Flintstones, though, in both cases, suspension of disbelief was difficult. Conversely, some adaptations did indeed work, as there were a select few actors who managed to bring a two-dimensional character to life in a live-action universe, such as John Leguizamo as Clown in the 1997 film Spawn, the cinematic adaptation of the comic book of the same name. And, of course, Jim Carrey in the 1994 film The Mask, the adaptation of the comic book series. Hartman would have almost certainly been one such actor who could have brought a two-dimensional character to life in a live-action film, given his distinct talent for slapstick comedy through cartoony, though realistic, live-action characters.
None of you have any balls!
Additionally, McClure's visual appearance is strikingly similar to that of Hartman himself, which is something that would have made transitioning McClure from a two-dimensional animated character to a live-action figure a lot easier than most other such transitions had been. Ultimately, the best reason to believe that Hartman would have been able to bring McClure to life in live action is the fact that Hartman loved the character and would have given this performance his all. And with his phenomenal talent, passion for the character and the project, in combination with solid writing and jokes from the Simpsons writing staff, it's highly likely that it would have been one of those rare occasions when a live-action adaptation of a two-dimensional character not only worked, but was also something truly special.
It sure is, Billy. It sure is.
Hartman was working on a number of different projects when he died, but, by all accounts, the McClure film was one thing that he was really excited about and eager to get started on. Sadly, the project would never come to fruition during his lifetime, and it's something that absolutely should not be attempted without him. Hartman's performance of McClure embodied the old adage of performers, that there was no such thing as small roles, only small actors, as Hartman could take just a couple of lines over the course of a few seconds and make them the most memorable part of a Simpsons episode, even the best of the best installments from the Simpsons golden era. The character McClure could easily have embodied the fake, sleazy Hollywood type, the likes of which have been seen numerous times in various forms over the years in film and television. However, Hartman brought depth, charm, and even legitimate humanity to a potentially one-dimensional character, and, as a result, McClure became more and more intricate, engaging, and lovable with each new performance from Hartman. At the time that A Fish Called Selma was produced, one of the keys to the success of The Simpsons and its longevity was the solid stories built around minor characters. And, ultimately, the episode served as a glimpse of just how good a McClure movie could have been with its layered writing and character development, combined with Hartman's range as a performer and his obvious passion for the character, adding yet another layer to this already tragic and senseless loss.